Good morning, folks. Here's the recording of today's webinar. So for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you may notice this isn't the original recording. This is because I had my machine crash just before I started, and that wiped out my cTrader setup, so I fumbled my way through it, as you may very well have noticed. Afterwards, Phil and I had a short conversation, and the outcome was that we decided I should re-record it. So here we are. So good morning everyone, and thank you for tuning in. So what we're going to look at this morning are some of the new features within cTrader, as well as some of the other bits of cTrader set up that we didn't cover last week. The first thing we're going to look at is how we can remove the background image from the charts. It's there by default when you first load cTrader. What you do a right mouse click on the chart, go to background image and set it to none. The important things to remember are that you tick the save changes to default template also, and save changes to all open charts. Then click on save, and that will remove the background image from the chart you're currently on, all the other charts, and then it will also make sure that if you open a new window, it doesn't add the background image onto the back of that. The next thing we're going to look at is how we can use the function keys to switch layouts. So at the top here we've got our layout button, and we can show the active symbol pane, we can show our trade watch, or we can hide both of them. If you're working with a keyboard and you don't want to have to keep coming up to the top menu and ticking and unticking them, you can just press the function key on your keyboard and that will step through the various options. By default, this is F11. Another couple of things to go through in the settings on cTrader. So if I just call them up. If you wanted to auto restart all of your bots when you restart cTrader, under Automate here, there is an auto restart cbots in cTrader setup. You may find that this is greyed out when you start, because in the main startup section here, again you've got a few different options. You've got single instance, multiple instances and multiple profiles. The thing that we use most often would be multiple instances, so that would allow you to have two copies of cTrader open at the same time, potentially loaded up on different accounts. But if you have this multiple instances selected, when you come to this Automate section, the auto restart cbots is greyed out. So if you find that happens to you, just pop back to the startup and make sure that's set to single instance. One of the other new changes in cTrader 3.7 is under the general section. We've now got this privacy option. So this allows us to show or hide our account number, the account balance, and our cTrader ID name. So if you look at the top right hand of my screen here, you'll see what happens as I untick each of them. So the account number, the account balance, and my cTrader ID. So that gives you a much cleaner looking top section of your screen, and for privacy reasons you may not want your account balance and account number shown. So the next new feature to look at is the chart zoom feature. Previously we would have used the little plus and minus magnifying glass buttons to zoom in and out. Now if we move our mouse over them, we have this little handy slider here so that we can scroll up or down to zoom in and out of our chart. So this is quite a quick and easy method of doing that. It's also available if you right mouse click on your chart. You've got the zoom slider here. And you can also scroll and zoom with a mouse using the control key and using one of your mouse buttons, or if you've got a mouse with a wheel in the middle, you can use the wheel to zoom in and out. Another new option is the new pencil drawing tool. So that's up here on my chart, so I'll click on it and I can then just, using my mouse, highlight an area. If you want to change the size and style of a line, you can just right mouse click on it and you can choose to make that a solid line, and you can choose to make it thicker or thinner, and you can change the colour of it as well. This is really useful if you just want to highlight something before doing a screenshot. If you want to delete this, you can do a right mouse click on it and click on the delete, or if you've got a delete key on your keyboard, you can do a right mouse click or click on it and then press the delete key on the keyboard. A few other things that we wanted to look at are the multi-chart mode and free chart mode. So you can see here I've got two charts open at the moment, and I'm just going to hide this little panel here that has my watch list of all my currencies, so we've got a bit more screen space. So if I switch into multi-chart mode, you'll see that I've got my two charts on screen, but I can't change the sizes of them. One of the new things though is that we do have all of our toolbar down the side here now available on each chart. So that makes it easy to zoom in and out of each chart individually, but also to change the time frame just by clicking on the little buttons on the side for each chart. If I switch this into free chart mode, what this allows me to do is to actually click and drag and move the positions of these charts. And I can shrink one up and extend the size of the other one. When you have this set up the way that you want, you can save this layout as a workspace. The difference between workspaces and templates is that a workspace will save your chart layout of the actual windows on the screens, and a template saves the actual indicators on the chart. So to save this as a new workspace, I'll click here, I'll go to Save Workspace, and I'll give it a new name, and then click on Save. So this is now my demo webinar workspace. To switch workspaces, you can click on your drop down arrow here, and I can move to one of my other workspaces that I have set up already. Or I can go back to my demo workspace. If I wanted to add a new template onto one of the charts, I can do a right mouse click, I can go to template, and I can add my template with all of my different indicators. I can then edit that as need be for this particular chart. This chart template will stay here even if I'm switching between workspaces. So if I switch back again, you can see I've still got the template that I put there. The workspaces are saved in the cTrader cloud, and the templates are saved locally on your machine. So if you're working between two different machines, when you log into your cTrader account on your second machine, all of your workspaces will be there, but you will need to copy the templates across from the templates folder on one machine to another, in the same way that we showed you on last week's webinar. The next new feature we're going to look at are how cTrader displays open trades and how many open trades you've got. So for this, I'm going to move back into single chart mode, and I'm going to open up this panel here so I can see my watch list. So on Euro New Zealand, I just open 2 trades. This isn't based on any strategy or any reason at all. This is purely for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to open 2 sell trades. And you can now see against Euro New Zealand, it's got the number 2 because I've got 2 trades open. Now if I go into GB New Zealand and open a trade, if I scroll down my list here, you can see I've got a 1 next to GB New Zealand because I've got 1 trade open and I've got 2 trades open on Euro New Zealand. If I want to close all of these very quickly, I've got my close all positions button here, so I'll click on that. That will bring up a warning to say I'm going to close all positions, am I sure? And I'll say yes. If I ticked the little tick box in that window, next time I chose to close all positions, it would just close them without bringing up that warning box. But I tend to leave that on because I'm prone to make mistakes at times. The next new thing we're going to look at is in the active symbol panel. So I will call that up. And what you can see here now, we have a calendar option. So this will show us the news for today for this currency pair. And it shows all the news, whether it's low impact, medium or high. And as you can see, by clicking on it, it gives you a bit more detail. And you've got this little arrow here that you can use to show or hide it. If you click on the See More, it puts it into its own tab at the top here, and you can scroll down and see all of the news for that currency pair for the day. So I will hide that again. Next on our list are the new parameters panel in the Automate section. So I'll just switch to Automate. And I've got 1 instance set up here for London Breakout. And as you can see here now, I've got a parameters panel with all my parameters for this instance. So I don't have to click on the little cog here because it's all already here for me. So if I chose to, I can hide this section on the left hand side and I can still see all of my parameters. And I can click and reposition this so it can either be on the left hand side or the right hand side. If I don't want to display that here, under the layout option, I've got the chance to turn it off just with a little tick on and off here. So again, that really is how you prefer to work. So I'll go back to the trade section, because what we're going to look at is how we can change the colours for the actual trading lines. So to make this clearer, I'm just going to put a trade onto the system. So we're on GB New Zealand, and you can see here the stop loss and the take profit lines are quite difficult to see. So if I do a right mouse click and I go to colour options, I'll go to my sell position and I'm just going to choose a black colour, or I can choose it from my colour picker here. And that does make the lines ever so slightly easier to see. To be honest, I still have trouble seeing some of these lines at times. You can also increase your font size on your charts, and you do that through the settings section here. Under General, you can see here I've got mine currently set to 130%. If I go back to 100, you can see how tiny the fonts are. And if I go up to 170, you can see it's all a lot bigger and a lot easier to read. I found the kind of sweet spot for me on this machine is 130%. This will be dependent on your screen and your screen resolution, so it's worth experimenting and seeing which one works best for you. One other question we've had has been about multi-currency testing, and on this there's some good news and some bad news. The good news is that in cTrader 3.7 we now have that. The bad news is it has to be added in code. From what we've seen so far, it does have potential, and we will be looking at how best it can be used, but it's not available yet for our bots, and it won't be until we code it. One thing you're going to have for future webinars is the option to register in advance. What this means is that you'll be able to download a little calendar thing that will pop into either Outlook or Google to add reminders, and it will put the link in your calendar for you to make it really easy to find and to get to. And then it will also automatically email you a reminder about an hour before the webinar start. So that covers everything we were planning on covering this morning. So we've looked at some of the new options within cTrader 3.7 and also some of the other bits on the setup for cTrader in general. So next week we're planning on looking more at how you can manually manage your trades within cTrader, because from the work we've done so far we've found there's a real benefit to doing this, even if it's a bot that has got you into the trade to start with. So hopefully you found this useful. If you have, give it a thumbs up. Any questions for next week, then please message me on WhatsApp, put them in the comments below or email me, and I look forward to chatting to you all soon. Thank you for watching.